Hold on to your hats, folks, because the trade war is back on. President Trump has decided to grace the world with a fresh batch of tariffs. Like a baker who just can't stop adding salt to the cookie dough. These aren't your run-of-the-mill, let's add a smidgen of protectionism tariffs. No, sir. We're talking a sweeping 10% baseline tariff on imports from every corner of the globe. But wait, there's more. Like a deranged game show host, Trump has decided to spice things up with some bonus tariffs for specific countries. China gets slapped with a whopping 34% tariff, like a student who forgot to turn in their homework for the entire semester. The European Union, those baguette-munching, cheese-loving folks, get hit with a 20% tariff. Japan, land of the rising sun and delicious sushi, faces a 24% tariff, while Taiwan gets a 32% tariff, presumably for daring to exist in close proximity to China. It's enough to make your head spin faster than a gyroscope in a tornado. The stated goal of this tariff frenzy? To boost American manufacturing and tackle that pesky $1.2 trillion trade imbalance. Because apparently the best way to make America great again is to make everything more expensive for Americans. Unsurprisingly, the global reaction to Trump's tariff tantrum has been about as welcome as a skunk at a picnic. China, never one to back down from a trade spat, retaliated with lightning speed, slapping a 34% tariff on all U.S. imports faster than you can say, reciprocal trade agreement. Canada, our friendly neighbor to the north, decided to prove that even polite Canadians have their limits, imposing countermeasures that would make a hockey enforcer proud. The European Union, not to be outdone, retaliated with tariffs on $28 billion worth of U.S. goods, because apparently nobody messes with their cheese and wine. Even Italy's prime minister, known for his calm demeanor and love of pasta, couldn't resist chiming in, calling the tariffs wrong with the kind of disappointment usually reserved for a soggy plate of spaghetti. The message was clear. This isn't a game, Trump, and the world is not amused. So what's the economic rationale behind this tariff tango? Supporters argue that these tariffs are a necessary evil, a bitter pill to swallow, in order to protect American jobs and industries from foreign competition. They claim that by making imported goods more expensive, American consumers will be more likely to buy American-made products, thus boosting domestic manufacturing and creating jobs. They point to the decline of American manufacturing and the loss of factory jobs as evidence that something needs to be done, and they see tariffs as a way to level the playing field and bring back those lost jobs. They argue that other countries have been engaging in unfair trade practices for years, taking advantage of America's open markets while protecting their own industries with tariffs and other barriers. However, critics of the tariffs argue that they are a simplistic and ultimately self-defeating solution to a complex problem. They point out that tariffs are essentially a tax on American consumers, who will now have to pay more for everything from cars to clothing to electronics. One of the biggest concerns about the tariffs is their potential to fuel inflation. When the cost of imported goods rises, businesses have little choice but to pass those costs on to consumers in the form of higher prices. This can create a vicious cycle, where rising prices lead to demands for higher wages, which in turn leads to even higher prices. Imagine, if you will, going to the grocery store only to find that the price of your favorite imported cheese has skyrocketed. Suddenly, that charcuterie board you were planning for your next party seems like an extravagant luxury. And it's not just luxury items that will be affected. Everyday essentials like clothing, electronics, and even food could see price hikes, putting a strain on household budgets across the country. This inflationary pressure could force the Federal Reserve to raise interest rates more aggressively to keep the economy from overheating. Higher interest rates make it more expensive to borrow money, which can slow down economic growth and make it harder for businesses to invest and create jobs. Beyond the immediate impact on prices, the tariffs also threaten to disrupt global trade and supply chains that have been built up over decades. These intricate networks of producers, suppliers, and distributors rely on the free flow of goods and services across borders. Tariffs act like roadblocks in this global supply chain, disrupting the smooth flow of goods and increasing costs for businesses. Imagine a car manufacturer that relies on parts sourced from multiple countries. Suddenly, those parts become more expensive due to tariffs, forcing the manufacturer to either raise prices or absorb the costs, potentially cutting into their profits. This uncertainty and disruption can make it difficult for businesses to plan for the future, leading to decreased investment and slower economic growth. The interconnected nature of the global economy means that a trade war between the US and its major trading partners will have ripple effects across the globe, potentially harming businesses and economies far beyond those directly involved in the dispute. Economists and lawmakers alike have raised concerns that the current trade war could escalate into a repeat of the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, a piece of legislation widely blamed for exacerbating the Great Depression. The Smoot-Hawley Act raised tariffs on over 20,000 imported goods, triggering a wave of retaliatory tariffs from other countries. This tit-for-tat tariff battle choked off global trade, deepened the Depression, and contributed to the rise of protectionist policies around the world. While the current situation is not directly comparable to the 1930s, the parallels are too close for comfort for many experts. The Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of protectionism and the interconnectedness of the global economy. It highlights how seemingly isolated trade disputes can spiral out of control with devastating consequences for the global economy. The long-term impacts of Trump's tariff tango are still unfolding, but the outlook is about as clear as a mud wrestling match. If these tariffs remain in place for an extended period, they could have far-reaching consequences for the United States and the global economy. One potential outcome is a slowdown in global economic growth. As tariffs disrupt trade and increase costs for businesses, economic activity could slow down, leading to job losses and reduced investment. This slowdown could be further exacerbated by retaliatory tariffs from other countries, creating a vicious cycle of protectionism and economic decline. Another concern is the potential for a trade war to morph into a currency war. As countries try to offset the impact of tariffs on their exports, they may resort to devaluing their currencies, making their goods cheaper on the global market. This could lead to a destabilizing race to the bottom as countries try to undercut each other, creating further uncertainty and volatility in the global economy. Trump's tariff tango has also deepened divisions within the United States. While some industries and workers may benefit from protectionist measures, many others rely on global trade and are likely to be harmed by tariffs. Farmers, for example, have been hit hard by retaliatory tariffs on agricultural exports, leading to lost markets and lower prices for their products. The manufacturing sector, which Trump claims to be helping, is also feeling the pinch, as tariffs on imported raw materials and components increase production costs. This divide is reflected in the political arena, with lawmakers from both sides of the aisle expressing concerns about the tariffs and their potential impact on the economy. Some Republicans, traditionally supporters of free trade, have broken ranks with the president, arguing that the tariffs are hurting American businesses and consumers. Trump's decision to unleash a wave of tariffs represents a significant gamble with the global economy. While the stated goal of these tariffs is to protect American jobs and industries, the potential for unintended consequences is high. From sparking inflation to disrupting global trade to slowing economic growth, the tariff tango carries significant risks. Whether these tariffs achieve their intended goals or simply backfire, causing more harm than good, remains to be seen. What is clear is that we have entered a period of heightened uncertainty and volatility in the global economy, and the stakes are high for everyone involved. The coming months and years will be crucial in determining the long-term impact of this trade war. The world is watching, holding its breath, and hoping that cooler heads will prevail before it's too late.